Hello everybody and welcome to the Play Your Guitars Right podcast. My name is Gareth Evans and this is a podcast that we like to get people in and ask them about their backgrounds in music and how they get started in guitar. It's aimed at the people who like to play guitar, guitar enthusiasts. Before we get started, this podcast is brought to you by GoliathGuitarTutorials.com, your number one place for free advanced guitar lessons. And without much further ado, we need to welcome our guest today. Today we have with us Mr. Joe Francis of Winter Mountain, hailing from St Agnes in Cornwall, once described as having a voice somewhere between Tom Petty and Steve Knightley. How true that is, we'll talk about that in a minute maybe. He has supported such acts such as Seth Lakeman, Fleet Foxes, Paolo Nutini, amongst many, many others. Currently on a mini tour of the UK, promoting his recently released second studio album entitled I Swear I Flew, with plans to tour with a full band in spring of 2017. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's great that you come in. It's an honour to have you.
Thank you.
It really
it's
is.
an honour to be here.
So we're gonna.
It's a beautiful place, North Wales.
It can be, maybe not on days like today.
I never saw so many different shades of grey in all my life. But it's beautiful. I was looking out across the sea just as I was driving here this morning, and I noticed that the sea was a deep gun grey.
Right.
And then as it got closer to the horizon, it turned a kind of brown grey.
Right.
And then the horizon itself was a pale grey. And then
there seems to be a theme here.
Yeah. But it's
not always grey, and
it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
It's elemental.
Yeah, it is a lovely country, part of the country. But we're going to talk about firstly your part of the country, which is Cornwall. Okay. This is where you hail from, St Agnes. Is that true?
North coast of Cornwall.
North coast of Cornwall, which has its fair share of beautiful scenery.
Oh man, yeah, that's elemental too.
Yeah,
it's very wild, very beautiful.
Yeah, quite remote as well.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, there's a lot of tourism down there, so there are kind of hubs of busyness. But you can take a walk out to the cliffs and you'd be on your own within a few minutes.
What's it like growing up in Cornwall? Did you enjoy your childhood? Was it
very much?
Yeah. Are you one with nature because of it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Pagan.
Awesome.
I think being exposed to that amount of nature when you're a kid really does help develop your imagination.
Yeah.
But you don't really grow up with the grit of the urban songwriters.
Right.
So your stuff comes out a little bit differently. I wish I was a bit more rebellious sometimes in my songs, but I grew up in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, and it's difficult to be rebellious when there are girls in bikinis wandering around in front of you. Beautiful coastline.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. Right. I like where you're going with that. Yeah, that's I can imagine. So according to my research, Cornwall produced artists such as Ralph McTell. I know that's not true. Ralph McTell was from like London, but he lives there. Yeah, okay, right, there we go. So Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac. Again, I mean, based on the fact that the Ralph McTell fact was wrong, then I'm not sure how true this is.
I think he was born there.
Right. James Morrison from Cornwall.
I know he was discovered in Cornwall.
Right, Buskin in Cornwall.
I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know James.
If he's from
he might have drifted down from Devon or somewhere like that, but if I'm wrong, sorry, he may be.
That's fine. These are just the facts that I've got. So, and Andrew Ridgeley, guitarist from Wham.
Yeah, he lives in Cornwall.
Right, there you go.
North Coast.
And Roger Taylor, drummer from Queen.
He's from Cornwall, I think, originally, and went to Truro Boys School.
Yeah, wow.
And there's a few pubs that I would frequent that have the old Queen posters up on the wall, right, from when they first started out, and he would have brought them down,
of course, to
play.
So it's nice that Cornwall's got that kind of musical heritage in a way. It's got all these
and Aphex Twin,
right?
Aphex Twin's from Cornwall, right? It's a great place to develop. Unlike the cities, it doesn't have a lot of infrastructure. It doesn't have a great deal of music industry presence, but what it does have is a great circuit of bars,
right,
and clubs and pubs, and you can learn your craft,
right,
without being under the watch of the industry.
Mm-hmm. So did you find that? Is that how you cut your teeth, kind of, as an artist? Was it around the local Cornwall? You didn't feel the need to move out to London and get big lights, big city kind of?
Well, I love London, and I do feel like I missed out on a certain element. Like, I would have loved to have spent a bit of time in the indie clubs of any of the cities, really, Manchester and London and Bristol, because I feel like they're real potent hotbeds for young musicians playing original music. Now in Cornwall it's slightly different because, as I say, you don't really have that infrastructure there for original music to develop, or you certainly didn't when I was a kid. It was more about playing in the pubs on the weekend and entertaining people.
Yeah.
But I had a number of mentors that were into great music. So I grew up listening to people like Springsteen and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Really cool songwriters, you know. Not only were my parents really into really cool stuff, you know. On my mum's side it was contemporary pop, and on my dad's side it was more folky singer-songwriter.
Right.
But also their friends played music in the bars and the pubs.
Nice.
So when I was a kid, me and my friends got together at a pretty young age. We were about 12 or 13, and I was a drummer at the time, and we decided to start our own little band, a garage band essentially. And
so that was your first foray into the music?
Yeah,
so
about 12.
You were a drummer originally before you picked up the guitar? Before you started singing, it was drumming? That was your first. But what got you into drumming? What was the attraction?
Well, specifically it was a friend of mine saying, do you want to be in a band?
Right.
I'll play keyboards, you play drums.
Okay, so it was decided by him.
Yeah.
You're playing drums.
Yeah, that's right.
Whether you like it or not.
So I got a snare drum. I think I got a pair of sticks first, and I'd just knock out beats on cushions and things.
Yeah.
Then I got given a snare drum, and from there I developed a full drum kit. My dad bought me a full drum kit on my 12th birthday or 13th birthday, and I started to learn gradually. And we were dead into music. We would rehearse 2 or 3 times a week.
What type of music was it back then?
It's a lot of 60s garage band stuff, you know, the early pop bands, the Beatles, the Kinks, the Stones.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so amazingly simple yet sophisticated stuff.
Of course, yeah.
It was a great education that we inadvertently gave ourselves in dissecting those records and learning how to play.
Yeah.
Some of those 60s rhythms were incredible, as were the Beatles' chord sequences and their harmonies,
of course, yeah,
and whatnot. Not just the Beatles, but all those guys.
Yeah.
And then you learn attitude from the Stones and the Animals.
Yeah.
A very good education.
So when was the guitar? When did you decide on the guitar and like start singing yourself? Was that much later on?
Well, I started singing whilst I was drumming, and
would you sing while you were drumming? Like the band.
Exactly,
band,
yeah. So Levon Helm was a real big influence on me, as was Ringo.
Yeah.
And any drummer I saw that could sing, Don Henley, of course. I was big into him. But in terms of the guitar, I picked that up at about 14 or 15, I think. My dad, my mum both had guitars lying around.
So they were like your first influences. They play guitar themselves? Did they learn? Right. So how did you get your tuition? Did you ask for them, or did you pick up yourself? Did you get a guitar teacher?
Well, my dad taught me chords and some basic picking patterns, which I've never really mastered that well. Right. But
the Travis picking and all that, you know. Just
exactly. He had a few books lying around, and he was a gigging musician.
Really?
And a lot of his friends were really good musicians too. So I was able to pick up bits and pieces from them in terms of guitar. So I just played casually, and I'd started writing songs as a teenager, and I wanted to develop my style. But then actually when I went to university, there was a lot of great drummers and a lot of great guitarists who were doing the same course as I was. Not university, college.
Right.
So 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And a lot of drummers that were better than me, because I'd focused on the 60s stuff, and that was enough to keep me occupied. But there were people that had joined the course that could play so many different styles. People who could play like Stuart Copeland, people who could play reggae, people who could play jazz brilliantly and rock brilliantly. I hadn't developed that well as a drummer, so and also my guitar playing was still pretty rudimentary. And I spoke to the head of the course, and he said, well, I tell you what we don't have on this course is a bass player. There's a lot of people playing guitars and drums and a couple of singers, but we don't have any bass players. So then I started playing the bass.
Right.
And I did 4 years studying bass, and then I did a degree as a bass player as well. And the first couple of bands I was in, I was the bass player.
Right, I see. So
3-piece kind of bass player singer.
Right. Do you find that your background in playing the bass and playing the drums like helps you when you're arranging like the full band thing, or do you leave that to the other musicians, or do you have your own input?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I try and allow whoever's playing those instruments in the band to have their own space to create their own parts. I've definitely been guilty in the past of being a little bit too particular about how something should be done.
Yeah.
I hear this in my head. Can you emulate that, please? Yeah. But I think when you play, if you play with people who are better than you learn a great deal.
Of course, yeah.
And it's only ever going to be of benefit for you to say, well, you've been playing the drums for 10 years, so by all means, take this part that I've got in mind and develop it and bring your own creativity to it. Yeah. And then it can only enhance what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to talk to you more about songwriting and the new album as well later on in the podcast. That's all right. I mean, we're obviously talking about your background and like what got you started right now. So before we need to round this section up soon, we're gonna ask you to play one of the songs off the new album, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Pretty soon. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you about like learning the guitar yourself. Like, what was the hardest thing when you first started playing? What was your problems that you had to overcome?
I remember struggling, like all young guitarists do, with the actual fretting of the guitar strings itself. You know, like
finger strength.
Yeah, I've developed calluses now, and I can, I do okay with the open chords. I'm not great with bar chords. I still struggle with them.
Okay.
Especially on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's something I've never really developed quite as well as I should have done. But also for the style of music that I play, which is, I guess, a combination of folk and Americana and pop, I don't really need bar chords all that much.
You just down tune your guitar. Do you do that often? Like
it's it's like folk tunings. There's an open G with a C bass that I like to use.
Yeah.
Open D that I use, and a couple of hybrid things for a couple of different tunes. Just stuff I've picked up. For the years.
So that's an easy alternative to like developing your bar chords is sound tuning your guitar. Is that
I guess
is that why folk artists do it so often?
It could be.
I don't know, it's like just play the open chords higher up the neck with an open tuning. It's like I guess not. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just.
Well, no, I think you get a different timbre from the instrument when you tune it to an open tuning. And it's just interesting. I think when you're trying to write songs, especially if you want to keep the songs flowing, things need to change slightly. Like you'll play the same. You generally play the same chords every time you pick up a guitar. In the same way, develop a style, and that becomes your thing. And I think in order to break away from that style and find new sounds and new directions which might spark a song or a bit of creativity, you're going to want to experiment a little bit with how you play, and that might be developing a particular aspect of the technical side of your playing, like bar chords, but it can also mean open tuning.
Of course.
An open tuning D or a G is going to sound different to a standard tuning G or a D, just slightly, and that might spark something off which will then develop into a song.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, where the sound of the guitar itself might like spark some more creativity, and how you can sort of imagine different things like coming out of the song because of
absolutely
the open tunings and things like that. So
yeah, like sometimes you'll hear a mandolin part on a record and you'll think, I want to emulate that, so you'll find an open tuning, you'll throw a capo on, 7 or 8 or 9, just experiment with the chord patterns that sound like they could be emulated by a mandolin, or they're emulating a mandolin, and that might put you in mind to write a folky song.
Yeah.
But the same can also be said for detuning the lower strings. I detune my D28 low E and low A, sometimes as low as C and G respectively, so you get a real like sonorous boom.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're then when you're up on stage and you're playing through a nice PA system with subs or something, you can really feel that, and that can really help with the tone of the song that then emerges. And not to take it away from guitar playing, but the same principle can be applied to piano. I don't play piano very well at all, but I know that by playing the same chords on piano as I would typically play on guitar, I'm going to get a different feel again out of that, and another song might come through that I wouldn't think of on guitar.
Nice. Using all those different types of sound to inspire you to create.
Exactly. And you've got, as a creative person, you've got to be feeding yourself information all the time. Yeah. And it doesn't really matter where you get that from. It can come from the books you read, or the people you talk to, or the view you're looking out over, or the film that you watch. But it can equally come from experimenting with your instrument. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, that's a nice way to look at it. And it's a nice bit of information. You definitely do have to feed your brain information to get inspired. I mean, people talk about writer's block. Have you ever suffered from that, and if so, how do you overcome it? Or?
I think I don't know that I've suffered from writer's block so much as I think when you have deadlines, that's when writer's block can become a thing, because then you have to try and write by the time you take the band in the studio.
Just that extra pressure.
So you've got pressure, and then it's a real thing that you have to face.
Yeah.
When you drift around as a songwriter, if you don't have deadlines, then you just write songs whenever you feel like it. But I've spent time in America. I've been lucky enough to go over there and lived in Ireland for a while and travelled Europe a bit. And I've always found that travelling is a great way to kind of start that creative process. You just get the ball rolling, because you're experiencing new things from the minute you leave your house. And it can be anything, especially if you're in a country where you don't know the language and you're on a train and you've got to try and figure out how to get to the next, where you're getting off, and how to find the hotel when you get there, and it's going to affect the books that you read as well, So if I was suffering from writer's block, I would get out my comfort zone completely, and I would go travelling.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a short train ride around the UK, or go to Ireland, hire a camper van, and just go to places you've never been before.
Yeah, new experiences,
Yeah, and just let that affect how you write.
Yeah.
I remember being in America. I went down to Memphis, and I fell in with the crowd that work at Sun Studios, and I got to stay for a little while with some of the guys that give the guided tour,
right?
Which was amazing, because I would get up with them every morning, and go down to Sun Studios, and whilst they'd be opening up and preparing the gift shop, you know, for the tourists, I would go into the studio itself and just sit and look around at this incredible building where Elvis and Johnny Cash started their careers, and
right.
Jerry Lee Lewis's piano's in the corner and Roy Orbison's guitar is hanging on the wall.
Wow.
And from there I got to meet the owners and the engineers, and they invited me to do a recording one evening, and I didn't really have any new songs, but I said yes nonetheless, because how do you pass up that opportunity?
Of course, yeah.
There was a little bit of panic on my part, because I thought, well, I've got to go prepared with some new material, and I channeled the experiences that I'd had whilst travelling America in the lead up to this recording session, and I ended up writing about girls I'd met in New York who were Broadway performers, and I wrote a song for the ghost of the first guy that was killed in the American War of Independence, I think it was. I think I've remembered that properly. His name was Crispus Attucks.
Right.
And I ended up writing songs about all sorts of existential stuff, and just things like, and I wrote a murder ballad. I'd never have written those songs unless I'd gone to America and exposed myself to a different type of culture, and just opened myself completely to everything that was around me, and gone, okay, what is going to spark a song here?
Yeah. No, I was just going to segue that into the song that you play for us now. As in, what is the song? Where did it come from? What's the story behind it? Would you like to fill us in, or you can leave it a mystery if you like.
Well, I'll talk about it a little bit. This song is called Sunlight Good Roads.
Okay.
And it's one of the first songs that I wrote for this album. And I was moving back from Ireland to Cornwall, and people have asked me what it's like to live in Ireland, and the best way I could think to describe it, when a friend of mine in particular came over and we had a few drinks, is that it's a bit like being a kid in a 80s fantasy film, where you open up a book and you fall into the pages,
right,
and you have this crazy time, and you fall in love, and you make great friends, and you meet loads of characters, these kind of drunk pirate type guys,
right,
and you find treasure, and you have mad adventures, and then one day I woke up and I was back home in Cornwall, and it felt like it was all a bit of a dream.
Right.
So I wrote this song with that in mind. And
so this is off the new album.
Yeah.
What was it called again? Sunlight Good Roads.
Sunlight Good Roads.
Sunlight Good Roads off the new album. I Swear I Flew, out right now, guys. So if you enjoy this, I would strongly recommend checking out Winter Mountain, I Swear I Flew. So you can perform that for us now?
Yeah,
that's all right.
To.
And I hope you enjoy this, guys. And this is Winter Mountain, Joe Francis with Sunlight Good Roads. Enjoy.
Dark-eyed stream, tearful red, skin as soft as a feather bed. Blue sky and you are leaving town. You carry me in my wounded heart. I miss the moon, you hit the mark. We are children of sharp descending grounds. Fools are we who climb the mountain. Those who follow are more foolish still. Roll on fast highway on you roll. Beat down sweet sunlight until the river overflows. I wish for you the sunlight and good roads. I kissed you deep and I kissed you slow, with the dirty sky, with the dirty glow. Then we count the stars as they are born. I could write you a song, dream you a dream about these young eyes and all they've seen. These young eyes have seen me through this storm. Fools are we who climb the mountain, those who follow are more foolish still. Roll on, vast highway on you roll. Beat down, sweet sunlight on you glow. Roll on, sweet river, until the river overflows. I wish for you the sunlight and good roads. Roll on, vast highway on you roll. Beat down, sweet sunlight on you glow. Roll on, sweet river, until the river overflows. I wish for you the sunlight and good roads. I wish for you the sunlight and good roads. I wish for you the sunlight and good roads.
Hello and welcome back to the Play Guitars Right podcast. You've been listening to Winter Mountain, and he's been playing the song of his new album called Sunlight Good Roads was the song. That was mesmerising.
Thank you very much.
That was fantastic. That was beautiful. It's off your new album, I Swear I Flew, and anybody can pick that up from the decent bricks and mortar shops that are left. If it's not decent, it won't have it. And otherwise, you can go on Spotify, iTunes, and all the other great online resources or sales places. And we want to talk a little bit about the album now, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
And so tell us, this album's different from your first album. Your first album was with Marty.
Written with Martin Smith, yeah, songwriter from Ireland.
But that's kind of gone its separate ways now, and now Winter Mountain is just you. Mm-hmm. And this is the first album where it's been just you.
Yes.
So how is that now? Is it different? Does it feel different?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it was a very different process. Mm-hmm. To start with, Martin and I wrote all the songs together. At least they were passed through the filter of both of us.
Yeah.
Although some of the songs were written individually. And then I was signed to a different label at that point, and they had some ideas. The producer, Sam Lakeman, had some ideas as to how he wanted to record the tracks and how he wanted the finished product to sound. So we went to a few different vintage studios. We brought in a few world-class session musicians, including one of my favourite guitarists, a guy called Robbie McIntosh, who played with the Pretenders for a long time, with Paul McCartney, with John Mayer.
Wow. Check
out Where the Light Is, that live DVD, and that's Robbie McIntosh playing with John Mayer.
Awesome.
To see him in action. And and then so this album was it was a lot smaller scale, right across the board really. It was me writing the songs. I recorded a lot of the stringed instruments myself, although I had a couple of guests come in, and I recorded in a local studio down in Cornwall.
Okay.
So it was a slightly more compact affair. I decided that I wanted to put this out on my own label so that I could just keep my content coming, really.
Astral Fox Records.
Astral Fox, yeah.
Is the name come because you're a sneaky little fox, or is that where the name comes from?
There is a concept behind it, but I don't know if we've really got time to go into it. Really, it's just I like foxes, and I like the ether, the stars and things.
Is that nature, going back to nature again?
Exactly that.
Side of it?
Yeah, it's growing up in Cornwall and being exposed to all that natural stuff. It's great. But my point about the releasing it on my own label is that as a young musician, I think you have this idea in your head that you perhaps want to put a product out there, you put yourself out there and try and appeal to major labels and sign a deal with a major label, and that's a great thing to do, but it's not always the right thing to do for young creative people.
Yeah, it might not be in the interest of the creators themselves.
Yeah, and sometimes those large corporations have ideas as to how they want to present the artist that it doesn't quite chime with how the artist sees themselves. I'm not saying that it's not a noble thing to go for, and that there's a lot of good to come out of the music industry. I'm not an artist that would attack the industry.
Yeah. But it's so much easier to do it yourself these days, isn't it? With the online and
exactly
distribution methods that you can do yourself even these days, and advertising and things like that. So, how have you found that side of things being out on your own?
It can be a little bit difficult. It's just time consuming. You find you spend a lot more time on your laptop.
Yeah.
And it can be a little bit intimidating dealing with distributors and trying to figure out what their contracts say, and figure out whether the terms within their contract are industry standard. But all the info is out there. It's online, and you can go through any contracts using Google.
Yeah, of course.
And figure out whether or not it's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth doing. But I advise people to read up on as much of the industry side of things as they can.
The legal side of things, yeah.
Yeah, before pursuing or signing any kind of deals.
Yeah, it's always good advice to get advice from your lawyer, isn't it?
Yeah, if you have a lawyer. If
you've got a lawyer, then obviously,
but if you can't,
do your research, and it's all out there.
Yeah, Google is great. It's a great resource, and so, I don't know if you've heard of Google.
I don't know. Is that a website?
It's up and coming.
Is it as big as GoliathGuitarTutorials.com?
No, well, I don't think.
Probably not on that scale.
But
probably not on that scale.
They're trying. They're going to make a breakthrough sooner or later.
I'm sure they will. So this album is a lot more personal to you, obviously, since it's all you. Are you more proud of this album?
That's a good question.
Yes.
I don't think so. I mean, is that the wrong thing to say? If I had a manager now, he'd probably be pulling his hair out.
Yes, it is. Thumbs up, yes.
I think am I proud of it? What I like to do is keep moving forward artistically.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel as though I'm doing. The last album has its merits, and there are certain things about what I did on that album that I would have done differently this time round. And there are things that I'll do differently for the next album that I do. But as long as, in essence, I'm moving forward artistically, I think that's the most important thing about it.
Kind of like choosing which one of your children you like best, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, every song has its little charms.
Yeah,
means different things to different people. As people are picking up copies of the album and writing to me and letting me know which track they like and why.
Yeah,
the songs take on a different life.
Yeah,
away from me.
Yeah, they have a personal meaning to other people.
Exactly.
Like it's that genre of music where it can mean so much to somebody. it's not just like throw me music. It's something that can you can connect with on a deep level.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's it's nice that you get
I think
these messages from people, and it goes to show that what you make, whether 10,000 or 1 million people listen to it, it's making a difference to people. Like, and people are connecting with it. So that must be a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a lovely feeling. Yeah, I remember the songs that have had the biggest impact on me throughout my life, whether it be a Beatles song or a Neil Young track or a Fleetwood Mac song or a song by the Police, whoever. And that those songs individually might have had, they might have meaning for me now for reasons that have nothing to do with the reasons the guy wrote the song, or the girl wrote the song in the first place. But whenever I hear Roxanne, I'll always think of that night on the beach or whatever it is, and it's just my memory. And the same can be said for a few people who are getting in touch with me about this music, and the same for the songs from the first album. It's really nice.
Yeah, really, I mean, it makes it easier with Facebook and things. People message you on there, and
yeah, exactly.
It's like fulfilling, I guess. I mean, I get the same kind of thing where I can help people and make them connect with music in a way that they weren't able to before they, saw my guitar lesson or whatever. But
yeah,
it's great that this is able to be shared. And you can get feedback like almost real time from people. Like while people are having their emotion, they can message you on Facebook, and I can
big time.
You can get that feedback. So,
we're spiritual creatures, and we need that connection.
Yeah, exactly.
And social media is a big part of it, but we also need a human, creative connection.
Yeah,
and music is a great channel for that.
Yeah, of course. We're getting into like deep territory now.
Yeah.
So.
Quick,
let's lighten this up.
Britney's new album.
So, one thing that people might be wondering is, Winter Mountain is now just you. Did you consider just going to your God-given name, your birth name, rather than sticking with Winter Mountain, or was it because you've already got an established following with Winter Mountain? Was it?
It's a tricky one to answer, really, because what it actually forces you to confront is the commerce versus art thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do you have a brand, and is it worth anything?
And it's very important, that type of,
as you know yourself,
yeah,
doing this kind of thing.
It's almost like you're constantly selling yourself, and it's like we're making decisions based on what's going to make you more commercially attractive or sellable.
So there is that side of it. You have to consider that. But nonetheless, a greater part of the decision is based around the music, and whether or not that music feels like a continuation of what you were doing as Winter Mountain.
Yeah.
Which it undoubtedly did for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing a bunch of songs, and this was before I'd committed to continuing with the name Winter Mountain. And it just felt like a natural progression,
Yeah.
And so it felt like an honest thing to be doing. It wasn't that I went, well, we've got however many thousand people liking us on Facebook. That is a minor factor, I guess you could say, but also you have to consider the fact that I'm a songwriter that's trying to make a living out of this. So
yeah, well, it didn't work too bad for Mike Rosenberg of Passenger. I don't know if you've heard of Passenger.
Yeah.
But his band naturally went their own way, and he stuck with the name Passenger. He's just a solo guy now, and
right.
It didn't work out too badly for him. So
I think if it feels like the right thing to do, when you consider it in terms of where you're taking your music or where the muse is taking you, and if you can see yourself following an honest path under this band name, whatever it might be, however you've presented yourself in the past, then it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, staying true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the album then, you obviously pull influences from musicians that you've listened to yourself, and there are some obviously influences that you've had writing this album itself. So who would you say influences you in this album and in general, I guess, musically?
Yeah. Well, there's a few in particular, and I take different things from different musicians or acts. So from someone like Neil Young, I would not only do I listen to his music and love his lyrics and his guitar playing and his attitude, but I would take his ethos of following your muse and being true to yourself, and I would then take something different from the Beatles. It would be perhaps having a slightly different approach to how you write songs and how you produce an album. So it would be slightly more studious and slightly more creative in the melodic sense. I would take a similar thing from Fleetwood Mac. So I love Rumours, which is quite a large produced record. So there's a few songs on that album that I've really layered up the harmonies, and I've got drummer in, and I've played a few different guitar parts, and I've gone to town a bit with that production because I enjoy the larger, lush pop production of Fleetwood Mac or the Beatles or Pink Floyd or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I'm also deeply influenced by a lot of acoustic singer-songwriters as well, like Cat Stevens, John Martin, Paul Simon, James Taylor, people like that. So
like the grandfathers of like modern folk, I guess, is like what, especially there's a lot of love for that type of music, and it is. I don't even know what I'm saying now. I'll cut this. So what we want to do now is kind of segue using what you've just said.
Sure, yeah.
Into what are you going to play for us next? And what made you choose this song, and why do you want to share? Why are you sharing that with us, I guess?
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm going to play you a song by James Taylor called "Fire and Rain." It's one of my favourite songs of all time. James Taylor is one of the founding fathers of the singer-songwriter movement, and he's got such a unique guitar style, and I love it.
Yeah,
what he does. I love the sound of his voice.
Yeah, it's just a iconic song, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are really looking forward to this, because I know I am. I'm listening to you play this. So
thank you.
Without much further ado, are we all right to just jump in and
let's just get it done?
Let's get this done. This is Winter Mountain with his take on Fire and Rain.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
Enjoy.
Yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. I walked out this morning, I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire, I've seen rain, I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always hoped that I'd see you again. Won't you look down upon me, Jesus? You've gotta help me make a stand. You've just gotta see me through another body is aching and my time is at hand. I won't make it any other way. I've seen fire, I've seen rain, I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always hoped that I'd see you again. I've been walking my mind through an easier time, my back turned toward the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it'll turn your head around. Now there's hours of time on the telephone line for talking about things to come. Sweet dreams and flying machines and pieces on the ground. I've seen fire, I've seen rain, seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always hoped that I'd see you again. I thought I'd see you one more time again. 'Cause there's just a few things coming my way this time around. Thought I'd see you, fire and rain. Oh la 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 la. Oh la 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 la. Oh la 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 la.
Hello, welcome back to the Play Guitars Right podcast with my special guest here today, Winter Mountain, aka Joe Francis. A little known fact, by the way, for those Gareth Evans trivia people out there, my middle name's Francis. So yeah, we share.
You heard it here first, guys.
So we share a name, like your Celtic origin too, like from like that type of. So
big time.
We're almost like brothers. You could say that.
Yeah,
you know, we're kindred spirits, like, you know what I mean?
It's a bit like the Arnold Schwarzenegger film Twins, though.
Yeah.
You're ripped and I'm small, and
wow,
Danny DeVito.
That's far too. You're being far too nice to me there. Ripped, I wouldn't say, but I actually got a brother who does refer to that Twins thing a lot. Well, a lot of other people do, because I don't even know why this is. I shouldn't even be saying this, but. Yeah, he's quite shorter and wider than me. Let's put it that way. Anyway, that's going to be edited out, I hope.
We tried our best.
Okay, let's move on now. So, Winter Mountain, I Swear I Flew, out now from all online retailers, all the best bricks and mortar retailers that are still remaining. You definitely, guys, you should check it out, because it's been an absolute honour and a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your hectic schedule. So let's talk about the tour in spring. You don't know exactly where you're playing yet. It's going to be the UK, is it?
It's going to be the UK. Yeah,
I know
that much.
We know that much. But you're going to have the full band backing.
Yeah, for the first time.
So talk to us about your band. Just brief. I know we were struggling for time, but you've got some great musicians in the band, I hear.
Yeah, some of the musicians are wonderful guys.
Seasoned vets.
Yeah, friends of mine from back home, but they've played in a ton of incredible bands with some amazing people. And Joss Stone.
Yeah.
Some Bring Me the Horizon and things like that.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to get out on the road with them and show everyone what they can do.
Yeah.
We're going out as a 4-piece, and I think the shows are going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
If you, I'll have to look out myself, because if you're playing like Liverpool or anywhere like that, or Chester even, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get up this way. Yeah.
Then I might just have to come along.
Brilliant.
Like, I know that guy.
That'd be great.
Let me in. I'll be knocking on the door. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in checking out what it sounds like live.
Thank you.
So before we sign off, I do want to give you the opportunity to take over this podcast for 2 whole minutes.
Okay.
You don't have to do it for 2 minutes unless you've got something to say about 2 minutes. But you can promote what you want to say, what you want to say, promote what you want to promote, and the stage is yours. So this is now your podcast.
Well, thank you very much. And I guess I would want to talk about this album, I Swear I Flew, which features 10 brand new tracks from me, Winter Mountain, and this is even better than my solo performances because it has a band on there, including Seth Lakeman, who kindly came and lent his talents for a couple of days and just plays some beautiful stuff over the top of my material. And it's a real mixed bag. We've got some rock songs on there, we got some intimate acoustic performances. There's something for everyone on there, but I feel like it's quite a cohesive album as well, and I'm really stoked with it. And incidentally, the album sleeve is something that people seem to ask me about a lot. It's quite an unusual shot, and that was taken in a place called Lake Colliford, which is in North Cornwall. And me and my friend Stuart, who's a great photographer, Stuart Gervin, we went up there. We started just messing around and getting different angles, and including the lake in some of the shots. And I found some feathers on the riverbank, and I started throwing them at the camera. So the shot that we chose for the sleeve is of me launching a bunch of feathers at the camera. Interesting. Yeah, it was good fun. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning when we took that photograph, which I'm sure you'll notice if you study your facial expression on it. Like, why am I doing this? I should be in bed. Yeah. But this, I think this is a really good album. I think you should get it. I think you'll like it. Yeah, and we recommend it highly. So sell. That's what it's all about. Thank you. So thanks for coming in. I'll just briefly read out. You can get hold of Winter Mountain at wintermountain.co.uk, facebook.com/wintermountain, Instagram at Winter Mountain. There seems to be a theme here. Twitter, Winter_Mountains. That's a little bit different. And if you're a YouTuber like me, Winter Mountain Music. That's the one. It's the YouTube channel. So you can have a little check out of the music and follow your progress on social media, which I certainly will be doing. Thank you, mate. And all the best with everything. I hope you achieve your dreams and you get as to the horizon as where you're aiming to get with this. And I really genuinely from the bottom of my heart wish you well. Thank you so much, mate. Because thank you for having me. It means a lot to be invited here. Yeah, it's great to meet you all. You're most really welcome. Nice. You're most welcome. And that is it for the podcast. Thank you. Thanks for coming. We will see you, or we'll be back again for another podcast in the next installment. Look out for that, guys. Thanks for watching, listening in, or however you've consumed this. We will see you again next time. And until then, bye for now. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, guys. If you want to go and check out the previous podcast, if you missed that one, you can click on the screen over there somewhere. And for future podcasts, why not hit the subscribe button at the top? You can go to iTunes, subscribe in there, or SoundCloud too. That's where we're posting these podcasts too. So until next time, bye for now.